we get started with the business breakdown, I just want to remind all participants that the purpose of this presentation is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as a recommendation to purchase or sell any security. MicroCapClub is not a registered investment advisor. MicroCapClub and its partners, members, subscriber, and affiliates may or may not hold positions in one or more of the securities mentioned on this program and may trade in such securities at any time. Do your own due diligence and seek counsel from a registered investment advisor before trading in any security. I want to thank the MicroCapClub community for tuning into this business breakdowns conversation with Adam Michaels, Chairman and CEO of Mama's Creations. My tag team partner for this business breakdowns is Andrew Rem. Andrew is currently a portfolio manager with Odinson Partners and their MicroCap focused strategy. Andrew has been a MicroCapClub member since 2019 and is one of our regular contributors. If you're interested in learning more about Andrew, we'll put a link in the show notes to an interview with him and a link to his work. Andrew, it's an honor to have you on the Business Breakdowns. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks. This is great to be here.
The business we're breaking down today is Mama's Creations, which trades on the NASDAQ exchange under the symbol MAMA, M-A-M-A. Mama's Creations was originally profiled in 2017 by Michael Liu. Mama's Creations is a food business that seeks to be a one-stop shop deli supplier. The company originally started selling a single product, Italian meatballs, but have since grown their product portfolio into other Italian cuisine, along with salads, sandwiches, olives, soups, pizza, and even some initial items in Asian cuisine. Their primary distribution channel is grocery and club. They have a nascent online presence and are very early in making inroads in the convenience store channel. As a bit more background, the business was an operational turnaround with the arrival of Adam Michaels and Anthony Gruber, CFO, in September of 2022. Over the next 12 months, operations were improved as well as profitability. They added resources and operations, sales and marketing, and as operational improvements were sustained, investments in sales and marketing have begun to show progress, with sales accelerating nicely over the last 12 months. This company has a vision of becoming a $1 billion business that owns the fresh deli space through a combination of organic growth and acquisitions. The company has room to grow within the deli space as they continue to build out their product portfolio. And in addition, they have a nice customer list, including Costco, Sam's Club, Publix, Aldi, Albertsons, BJ's, and others, which there remains room to penetrate. So with that, I want to welcome Adam Michaels. Adam, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you, Adam. Excited to be here. And thank you, Andrew, for helping as well.
Before we get into the presentation, Adam, you've been in the food and beverage space for a long time as both an operator and management consultant for some really large companies. And it's always interesting to me when someone moves from a role within a larger business to publicly traded microcap. So can you talk a little bit about the inception of that and kind of what attracted you to Mama's Creations?
Yeah, no, thanks again, Adam. Look, first of all, as some of you guys know, anything good in my life is my wife. My wife actually got this first call through a finance headhunter of sorts, but ultimately got back to me. I loved what I was doing. I really wasn't looking for anything. I loved my time. I spent about 10 years at Mondelez and Nabisco, every 2 years switching jobs. So I think I've sat on just about every leadership team in North America. And then before that, I spent about 8 years in management consulting, working for Booz Allen Hamilton, all exclusively in the entire food and beverage value chain. So all the upfront ingredient providers. PepsiCo was a big client of mine, Frito-Lay, retailers that sold food and beverage products. So I'm very lucky that I found my calling. I found my passion very early, and have just really had a blast. And once speaking with the board, of course, mostly after speaking to Dan Mancini, there really is, unfortunately, Mama has passed away, but there really is a Dan Mancini. Getting to speak to him, getting to walk the lines of our two facilities, the people are everything. We now have upwards of about 300 employees, about 250 of which are in the facilities. Those are the people that make me smile. Everyone makes fun of me, but I walk the line a dozen times a day, and that's where I get my energy and feel my passion. And very lucky being able to bring Lauren Sella in as our Chief Marketing Officer. Has really built a strong foundation, which we'll talk about today, but prepares us very nicely for growth.
Excellent. That's a great intro. Thank you very much. And yeah, I also was remiss to mention Lauren Sella has joined us as well, Chief Marketing Officer of the business. Lauren, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Yeah, great. That's a great segue into the introduction. So, Adam, let's now go through the presentation. As a reminder to the audience, if you have any questions, you can ask them by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen and entering the questions there. With that, Adam, the floor is yours.
Sure, absolutely. So obviously my most creative slide of the deck are forward-looking statements. You could find more of this information at our website, www.mamascreations.com. So there's really, if I can, leave you with three things today. So the first one, and we'll talk a little bit about, and it's probably the most important thing, is we are absolutely in a positive macro trend. And you're going to see today, and you're not going to take my word for it, whether it be Mintel or IRI or Nielsen or whoever, consumers are moving towards this fresh, clean, easy to prepare meals. Massive growth of the deli. IRI data just came out for last month's numbers, 5% growth, 5% unit growth. Say it again, 5% unit growth. So one, these macro trends are huge. We are going to ride a wave. The second one is we have a differentiated proposition. We are, to my best understanding, the only publicly traded deli company in the country, with the exception of a handful of companies. Everything is $50, $100, $200 million businesses, very small mom and pop private businesses that are different, that have their own niche. You are going to see that we are now this one-stop shop deli solution. If the deli needs it, we can offer it. So that's number two. And then three, and Adam, thank you for sharing it before. It took us about a year or so to build a strong foundation, which we now have. And now we could rock it forward. So those are the three things: macro trends, differentiated strategy, and now having the strong foundation of which to catapult. That's where we are. So let's just go through those three things. So one, macro trends I've shared with you. Andrew's friend, Jerome Powell, is helping us every month with food away from home being 4x the growth. So we all know that food away from home is more expensive, but the acceleration, it's growing 4x from an inflationary perspective. That is driving more people to the deli. And what you're seeing is this virtuous circle. So as delis bring in new, fresh prepared meals, right, well beyond your chicken parm to Korean meatballs or teriyaki chicken or any of those items, it actually gets consumers to do more, which drives them to bring more items in, which gets more consumers to go around. And it's this virtuous circle. Every month, it's getting stronger and stronger for us. The other thing is, it's not just about the end consumers for us, which we care deeply about, but it's meeting the needs of our customers, the retailers. And what you're seeing, and it's all macro understanding, that whereas in the center aisle, the profit margins for the retailer are what, 20, 30%, in the meat section, 40%. The deli is a 50% margin for them. If Lauren sells them something at $5, they're selling it to the end consumer at $9.99. So it is in their best interest to sell more in the deli because it's more profitable for them. The other things, all Mintel data, other data, is that having prepared meals drives more trips, meaning consumers come in more. And no one just leaves with one thing of, whatever, fried chicken. Oh, I didn't realize there's a new flavor of Oreo. Oh, I forgot, a new toothbrush, toilet paper's on sale. And so the trips are going up and the baskets are getting bigger. All of this to show this is a mutually beneficial, it's a triple win. So the retailer, the end consumer gets what they need in better meals, fresh, clean, prepared meals at a better price. Retailers are making more money. And guess what? Mama's is doing pretty well as well. So the macro trends are absolutely there. I spoke to you about the second one, right? So there is this differentiated offering. It starts, doesn't end, but starts with Dan. So, Lauren, we might have to change up this picture. This is Dan a little bit, not necessarily last week, looking good, but he's still looking good. But Dan created this business 10, 15 years ago. And there's something that really resonates. Dan is on QVC every week, speaking to consumers. Dan is literally the person that is responding to every bit of consumer feedback. When someone types in something onto our website, Dan is the one that is responding himself. And then third, he's a minor celebrity. Lauren, leads all of our shows that we went to. Just last month, we went to IDDBA, the International Dairy, Deli, and Bakery Association. Everybody's coming up to Dan. Everyone wants to shake Dan's hand. When we bring for key customer meetings, we might bring Dan to customer meetings sometimes. It just resonates. It doesn't matter how good a salesman Adam Michaels is. When Mr. Mancini from Mama Mancini's comes to the meeting, it really resonates. So there is this differentiated, you can't fake this. You can't buy this. This is real. And you're going to marry that strength, right? This differentiation with our new strategy. When I came to the board, it was actually, so they first gave me a call around April timeframe, I think. I came as a visitor to their first board meeting in June. And I shared my vision for what we were going to be, this one-stop shop deli solution. And like I told Andrew, I'm all about cheating, but it's okay because I'm letting you know I've done this before. So the last job I had at Mondelez was helping to lead their M&A in North America about 4 years ago. I don't remember now. We bought a company called Give and Go. It's an in-store bakery company, and it did exactly what we're doing now. They had this thing called 2-bite brownies. That's what they became famous for. They had great quality, great service. And the buyer said, hey, do you know how to make cookies? I don't know. Sure. Hey, do you know how to make cupcakes? I don't know. I'll learn. Hey, do you know how to make croissants? And I remember literally in meetings learning how to make laminated dough. And that's how you make croissants. And we became, or I guess now they became, this one-stop shop in-store bakery solution, and now they are the market leader, 700 million plus of revenue. I am stealing the exact playbook that we did together back then for the deli. And the beauty is, just like Biff from Back to the Future with his almanac that he already knew the answer to, we're 5 years behind in the deli. So I know exactly what is going to happen. And what you see here is things that we have already on the left-hand side, all the proteins, chicken, beef, all this green salads, all the pasta salads, Mediterranean farro, Israeli couscous, Persian rice, all the olives, sandwiches, wraps, paninis. We have that all today. So in the past, when we only had meatballs and the buyer was not in the mood for meatballs or broke up with his or her Italian boyfriend or girlfriend, maybe I'm not in the mood to buy meatballs, we had nothing to offer them. Today, you don't want meatballs? That's fine. I got sausage and peppers. You don't want sausage and peppers? I got chicken. You don't want chicken? You don't want chicken strips or breaded chicken? No, I'll give you pasta. You don't want pasta salads? I'll give you paninis. You don't like paninis? I'll give you wraps. You don't like wraps? I'll give you olives. I could go on forever. And that's why it is absolutely, our sales team knows you don't get to leave without selling something. And we have those offerings. And part of our strategy that Adam just mentioned earlier around we will become a one-stop shop deli solution. We're already there, and we will be a billion-dollar company. Half of that growth is going to be organic growth, and that's great. We're going to sell more items into every store. We're going to get into more stores. But then there's 500 million of, we're not complete yet. We don't have soup today. We don't have pizza today. With all due respect, I cannot lie to you guys. Dan did not make sushi with his grandmother 50 years ago. Andrew thinks it's true. It's not. So that might be something that we have to acquire. We mentioned earlier, again, what's the number one attribute for me is driving AIC, average items carried. Why? Because I'm cheap. And the truck is already going there. So for me to put another pallet on of a different product, it actually reduces my freight costs. So what you see, what's great on the bottom here is all these customers, when Laura and I first started, you had less than half this list together. And what we're doing is we're adding more and more. That's driving more sales. Why? It's easier. The customer calls us for it. It's easier because we already have all the documents in place. We can get a new item in like literally by the end of the week. It's easier because the truck is already going there. That's why AIC is our number one metric. Velocity is our number two metric. That's where Lauren comes in, and she's going to speak a little bit later this afternoon, later. I can go quicker. Give her more time. getting our marketing out there, getting trade. We hired a great trade guy. It helps. I don't want to leave stuff to chance. And again, you hear me say this a lot. I'm totally okay with chumming the waters. When we bring in a new product, Lauren is all over it. Whether it's radio, whether it's in-store execution, whether it's getting stuff online, we chum the waters. People know it's coming. That's what's really important. BJ's is a great example, and I can give you a dozen of these examples, but when Lauren and I first started, we had one item carried. This was pretty much the only item we had in the store when we started. We now have 10 items. Everything from kale salad to teriyaki chicken wraps to Mexican street tacos, cheese quesadillas, turkey roll-ups, Italian herb chicken, you name it, 10 items. We account for 10 of the 13 items in Brittany's, is the buyer, in her set. Since Andrew gives me a hard time, guess what's one of those 3 items that we don't have? Meatballs. Do you think we're pretty okay at meatballs? And we're already in conversations to see why the 3 that we're not in, one of them happens to be one of our premier products. So that's just an example of the breadth of customers that we have. Our strategy. I'm not a smart guy, so it's all about being simple. Cost, controls, and culture. If you guys have been following us, you're probably exhausted because that's all I talk about. Cost, controls, and culture. Cost, controls, and culture. Cost, when I got here, we had 12% gross margins. 12. At the end of last year, 30% gross margins. I told you guys that I'm going to actually reinvest. I want to spend more on trade, so I'm going to pull that down a little bit, but that gives you an understanding. Freight, down 50%, 5-0, since Rebecca and I got together and developed, looked at, understood what gets measured gets improved. You'll hear that all day long. We measure everything. What gets measured gets improved. Controls, Anthony and Peter, our controller. I lose sleep on a lot of things at night, mostly personal things at home, but I do not lose any sleep at night on our financials. I know exactly where we sit every day. Biggest mistake this company has done, they gave me access to NetSuite. Our entire business is on NetSuite now. I don't need anyone's help. I can look at anything. Lauren unfortunately knows, so Sunday is a work day for me. Everything. By Sunday night, I know everything there is to know of the company every Sunday night. So getting the controls in place are great. We've renegotiated almost every contract. And I'm not ashamed to say, Anthony has redone every contract, all in our favor. And then the last place is culture. And this is actually where Lauren has helped a lot, because she's actually led the process. But we're a team, we're a family. We now meet almost every month. We have a culture committee now. We give out love awards, which is living our values every day, right? We speak as a team. We have offsites. It's important. We have engagement surveys now. Every year, all 300 employees to measure how happy are you, because that's what's most important. So the results really quickly, and I'm going to try to get ahead so Lauren can speak up, but revenue, nice growth on revenue, intentional, patient growth. We grew 30% last quarter. I told Andrew I was upset about it. I didn't want to grow that much. We grew 17% the quarter before that. I was upset about that. I want us to be very measured. I'm in it for the long haul. We are going to build profitable growth at the right cadence. And then gross margin is an example I mentioned to you earlier. And then now great lead into Lauren. Now that we have the 3 C's, cost, controls, and culture underway, now we can catapult. And that's where you're starting to see the growth. And I think with that, I will, I'll give you, so super quick, a lot of investment we're making around our business. Hopefully you've seen that we've been growing in Farmingdale, all about driving down our COGS and increasing our gross margin. Margin expansion that we spoke about, and the people that we're bringing on across the entire thing. We are building capabilities. So Lauren, with that, I turn over to you. You can just tell me to change slides.
Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Sella, and I've been at Mama's Creations since June of last year. I've worked in food marketing for almost 20 years. I have a passion for food. I started my career in marketing at General Mills, and then I transitioned over to what is now Mondelez. And I've worked on brands such as Ritz Crackers, Sour Patch Kids, Swedish Fish, Hamburger Helper. That was actually my first role in marketing. And my last role at Mondelez was at Tate's Bake Shop, the cookie company that was acquired by Mondelez. I've had the pleasure of working with Adam at Mondelez, and it's really tough to work for someone who's so low energy. So hopefully I can bring the energy that he lacked in his presentation. But I'm really excited to be in this role. It's been an amazing year plus, and I'm just so excited about the opportunity that's ahead of us. And you can switch to the next slide, please. So first question is, why invest in marketing? From a short-term perspective, marketing can help boost sales, support new product launches, drive trial. And from a longer-term perspective, it helps build brand equity. What you can see on the right-hand side of this slide is the Kantar index, which compares the performance of strong brands versus the S&P 500. And as obviously, those stronger brands win in the market. As for me, I can regale you with stories of marketing mix models, $50 million marketing budgets, which I've led in my career. But at Mama's, that's not where we are as a brand right now. So as Adam already alluded to, my first priority when I joined the company was building the foundations of the brand, building upon the foundations of the brand, I should say, actually, and focusing our efforts on where we have the biggest impact. And that's what I continue to do every day. Sorry, you might hear some screaming kids in the background. You can see our three objectives here are sticking in their mind, which is around building awareness, getting in their cart, driving trial, and winning their heart, which is all around building on loyalty. So for now and in the near future, our focus is on driving consumption at the point of purchase, being close to retail, either through direct partnerships that we have with our retailers or initiatives that identify shoppers and communicate to them outside of store. If you move to the next slide, please. This slide shares some examples of advertising and marketing initiatives that we have done in the past and or will continue to do. So online advertising includes making sure that we have strong content on our retailer websites. That's one of the first things I did when I joined the company. I worked on syndicating our content. So if you go to Publix.com or stopandshop.com, our product is showing up the way that we want it to show up. So all of that content is now syndicated. And then also ensuring that we have search campaigns on our retailer websites. So if someone searches, well, at the lowest level, the bottom of the funnel, Mama Mancini's, that our product shows up as at the top of the page. Or if they're searching, even for just dinners, making sure that our product shows up as well. Point of sale merchandising is great because it disrupts shoppers at the shelf. It helps to stimulate trial. So that's something that we do. We have partnership with an in-store merchandising company. And so they're going into stores and I'm giving them point of sale merchandising to put at the shelf. And we're doing these initiatives with other retailers as well. Last year, at the end of last year, around the holidays, we tested an iHeartMedia campaign in 2 markets in the Northeast, in the New York metropolitan market, because that's where we have strong branded distribution today. And we also had a Costco Northeast rotation happening at that time. And then in the Southeast, we also did a test, and that's because we have really great Publix distribution, branded distribution. I don't know, Adam, if any of the ads will work if you click on them.
I don't think so, but we can go on and we can get to them afterwards.
Okay. And then late last year, we also started PR efforts. That's a great way to get our name, our brand, more familiar to both the consumer and trade. It's a very low lift on our end. Our PR agency does all the heavy lifting. And so that's been great for us, both on the consumer and the trade front. And then also what's not on here is we've also started to submit ourselves for different trade awards with our new items, which has been great. And we've been named finalists on some of our new items. items, and we're continuing to see more and more benefits out of that. So that's been great also in terms of getting our brand name in front of retailers and the trade. And then you can see here on the right, this year we're attending, and at this point, I think it's probably closer to 16 or 17 trade shows. I'm really excited about this one. We're expanding our presence with retailers and also just going into entirely new channels. Last week, I attended the National Association of College and University Food Service, presenting them both our retail offerings and our food service offerings, because they have the C-stores on campus, as well as, of course, the dining hall. So as Adam was talking about, one-stop shop, we can provide them with bulk product for their dining halls. And then we have great product, our new on-the-go cups, which are perfect for college students who want a quick meal at 2 a.m. That has high protein and is grandma quality. So that's been a great initiative that we started this past year.
Oh, see, it does. You guys hear it, right? Oh,
Okay, great.
okay.
I can.
Sorry, I just messed that up. Let's try it one more time. Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay. On this slide, I'm sure everyone knows what gross to net is, and we know that investment in trade promotion does lower your gross margin and impacts net revenue, but it obviously has significant impact on growing your sales, as Adam mentioned earlier about investing in the business. So investing in trade brings in new customers and expands consumption through multi-buys and cross promotions. An example of this is Publix, as I mentioned earlier. They use our meatballs in their Pub Sub program. So what we do, as an example, is we can create an offer where if you buy a sub for lunch, we'll give you $1 off coupon so you can pick up one of our on-the-go meals, our retail-ready meals for dinner. So that's a great way and a great example of expanding consumption, and also builds upon what Adam was saying of having multiple items in store to help expand consumption as well. Our principle, if you can stay on that slide, no worries. Our principle for trade promotion is focusing on quality merchandising, not just subsidizing consumers with temporary price reductions. And we also focus on branded versus our unbranded items. You know, that's always where we want to first invest in. We want to prioritize our strategic customers and our strategic items. And what you can see on the right-hand side is at the top, it's showing how we're allocating our investment across our different packaging types, as well as on the bottom, you can see how we're allocating our investment across our retailers. So again, focusing on the things that are most strategic to us as an organization. And we have a team in place that's tracking everything. Again, Adam said earlier that what gets measured gets improved. So we're looking at the ROIs of all of our promotions, and we're adopting a test and learn mentality. So we continue to put things out there, we measure it, we know not everything will work, but we do learn from what works and we scale on that, and we continue with this test and learn mindset. You can move on. And these are some examples of some programs we've had in place and continue to have in place. So on the top left are instant redeemable coupons. I mentioned earlier that we have the retail merchandising team. So we're arming them not only with the shelf talkers, but also things like instant redeemable coupons when they go into stores. And we've seen some really good redemption on those. Online discounts. This particular example is from a Costco Northeast rotation that we had, where we advertised. Today, we're seeing really strong impact from advertising on Instacart. And so we have an evergreen program on that. But when we have a discount, an online promotion, you'll see it flow through onto Instacart. So that's been a great program for us. In-store displays, I'm sure you know, are great because of their high visibility. So it's always ideal to get those. In the deli space, it's a little more challenging because our product is refrigerated versus my earlier career of shelf stable. You could put a product anywhere. But We try and get those as often as possible. And then, of course, in-store circulars, either print, which Adam reads every week, all of the print circulars, or digital. And those are impactful because they target the shopper directly in their path to purchase. And then finally, on the right, as a case study, Adam mentioned BJ's earlier and how it's been such a great customer for us. And this is an example where we partnered on a promotion, myself and Nick and our trade promotions team, partnered with BJ's on a promotion for BJ's. So in addition to a coupon, we had search marketing running. And you can see that the combination of those two programs, those two activations generated really significant sales lifts. And so these are the types of programs that we're trying to continue to activate when we have trade promotions. How can we supplement that with marketing in store, either merchandising or search campaigns, and to help generate even bigger lifts than a trade promotion would on its own.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Lauren.
you.
So yeah, so again, the goal here, I mentioned earlier, this $1 billion vision, as we begin to build off that strong foundation, continue to drive average items carried, innovate. Lauren's done the work that she's done for IDDBA around our new products, our new Meals for One, our new chicken offerings, acquire, and talk more about that, and to ultimately become this one-stop shop deli solution. You see we've done 2 acquisitions in the past year or two with Creative Salads, and similarly with Chef Inspirational Foods. Again, we've made it really clear, 3 things for acquisitions. 1, it's in the deli, ideally incremental, right? Don't find me a great deal for a shoelace company. I'm looking for something incremental in deli. 2, it's west of the Mississippi. My boys really like to ski, so if we could do someplace in Colorado or Utah, that'd be better. And then 3, it has its own manufacturing and distribution. Not looking to franchise a name out. So those are the 3 things that we're looking for with acquisitions. Financials, I hope, speak for themselves. Like I mentioned, 12% gross margins when we started, now closer to 30%. I had less than $1 million. I was given less than $1 million in cash. We now have over 13 million. I had more than $15 million of debt. We now have less than half of that, of which that remaining debt's either at 3% or actually some at 0%. Peter, our controller, says 0% interest is good. We can do more of that. When I started, literally, our accounts receivables was 2x accounts payables. Now accounts payables is 1.5 times accounts receivables. So cash conversion cycle, old boss of mine, Luca Zaramello, is the CFO of Mondelez. He would physically assault me on cash conversion cycle. So understanding inventory, AP, AR is critical to our business, and doing pretty okay. So that's it, really. Again, 3 things hopefully I shared. I know we didn't have much time, but 1, we are absolutely in the right place. The macro trends are in our favor. Deli, fresh, clean, easy to prepare. 1. 2, you have not seen this before. We're the only publicly traded deli company out there, the only company looking to be this one-stop shop, but it's super differentiated. And added bonus, we have Dan. And then 3, from where we were 2 years ago to where we are now, from a strong financial foundation, we're spending mid-single-digit millions of dollars in CapEx, all paid for from cash flow from operations. We don't need any more debt. I hate debt. So we are doing all the right things to build that strong foundation. And with that, I'd leave it to Adam and Andrew to take it away. Thank you guys again for making the time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, both of you. That was a great presentation and really appreciate all the color. A lot of really interesting things to dig into. I want to pivot to the Q&A session now, and as a reminder for participants, if you'd like to ask a question, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and you can submit your question there, and we will get to the audience questions as time permits. So I'd love to start, one of the interesting slides you shared surrounded your focus on what you call the 3 C's. And I'd love to just hear where you think you are in that process in terms of internal improvements or things you'd like to accomplish.
Yeah, so I'll never be done with 3 C's. You guys are going to be so tired. 10 years from now, you will still hear the 3 C's. But I feel, and hopefully don't do what I say, look at what I do. The team, the leadership team, because the 10 of us decide together what to do, we felt so good with the progress we've made of the 3 C's that we could add a 4th C to it in Catapult. But adding the 4th C does not take away the first 3. So costs, we're doing well. We shared, I'm very transparent, tougher commodities perspectives. So chicken is now up. Raw chicken, go to the USDA website, is up 50% versus prior year. Now, you don't see nearly a 50% reduction in our COGS, which means we're doing something right. But that's not helping. Obviously, for all intents and purposes, we're completely transforming our operations. I mentioned I know how to skim over it, but in Farmingdale, we're completely changing the operations, adding 2 more grill lines. We're actually increasing our capacity by 100%. I'm told that's a high number. Adding a lot more automation, moving earlier in the process by trimming and tumbling ourselves. That's a dramatic reduction in COGS. But obviously, as you know, and you guys have all seen on YouTube, the video of people changing tires on a car while it's driving, that's where we're living today. So I shared, you saw the numbers in Q1. I absolutely said that Q2 is going to look way closer to Q1 than to what Q3 will be. But I know just that it's just clearly there that we're going to see a dramatic reduction in cost because of all this automation. So cost, I feel great. Controls, again, with Peter and Anthony, I couldn't feel more comfortable. NetSuite, now that it's everywhere within our business, I just feel awesome about that from a controls perspective. And culture is another thing that I will never stop, right? We are always going to focus on our people. We are going to always focus on investing in tools for them. I love our HR lead, Abby. We now have training. Actually, I'm just embarrassed because I'm not winning this. We're doing a competition now. You get, what was the language? Duolingo. We now have a competition internally on we gave everyone money that everyone could invest in themselves and learn another language. And someone's on 200 days or something, some crazy number of consistent learning of Duolingo. That's what I care about. The people are everything. Culture is everything. So I feel great on the 3 and super excited. You guys are starting to see the 4th C in Catapult, but feel great on the first 3 C's, but they're not going to stop. We'll be talking about it 10 years from now.
Excellent. That's a great answer. I appreciate that. And then this is a question for both of you or either of you. A lot of great things were mentioned surrounding marketing during your presentation. And what I think is interesting about your business is that you almost have 2 different sets of end customers. So you have your grocery partners, distributors, and then you have your customers who need to enjoy the food.
Yeah.
How does that sort of craft your strategy, marketing message, or what? Can you just talk a little bit about the balance between those 2?
Yeah, Lauren, you want to take that start?
Sure. I mean, the message that we're communicating to our retailers and consumers is essentially the same thing in terms of, what we deliver and grandma quality, real ingredients. So that doesn't change. We are talking to both of them and, in different channels. I'm actually right now just starting to work with, to put together a digital campaign. So some of the end language might be a little bit different to consumers versus, what we're talking to specifically on our retailers, but we are always prioritizing both of those with the same sort of foundational message. And I mentioned it when I was speaking through my slides that when I joined, one of the first things that I did was put together our brand foundations. And that was putting down, creating a brand purpose and values for the company. And those are embedded throughout the organization internally and externally as well. So everything we do lives up to our brand promise, whether it's internally or talking to our customers or our consumers, our end consumers as well. But we manage, we talk to both of them, and we're constantly working on communications to both retailers and consumers.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add, just because Lauren's being too modest, is the impact she's having with our customers. So there are our retailers. So remember, and it's hard, this is go to every deli player out there today. First of all, again, all private, all mom and pop shops. They've never had such a seasoned marketer like Lauren in there doing these types of things, talking about measuring ROI. I don't even know what R, O, or I stand for, right? Like, what do you mean spending money on marketing, right? What do you mean spending money on trade? So we have an aspiration. We've been clear. I want to get to 10% trade rate. The industry is probably closer to 1 or 2% trade rate. So when you see, and it was just funny, Lauren has to make fun of me like she always does. You know, this was in last week's circular, Stop and Shop with all of our chicken products, right? Like, we're investing alongside them. We're willing to put the money in. So of course it's exciting for them. Again, Brittany at BJ's, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You're just going to give me money and I get to choose where I put it within the 10 items. That's not normal. That's not how the mom and pop deli space worked. So having someone like Lauren bringing these creative ideas, the shelf talkers, thank goodness, because I have nothing, I got to have fun in my office. These are cool things that are not as traditional in deli that they're super excited about, that they really have a partner now in Lauren, where historically that wasn't the case. So that's what's very exciting.
I'll just build on one other thing, and I did mention it in terms of our oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on the word. Our trade show, our trade show strategy. So we we traditionally have been focused on grocery and club and the mass channels. And one of the great things that we've been doing with attending all of these trade shows also is penetrating new channels. And so that also has been great as an initiative in the organization. So going to new types of customers and talking to them. So not only are we, talking to our current customers and bringing them more, but we're also going to new types of customers and sharing with them what Mama's Creations is. So that's been an awesome experience as well in the last year.
Excellent. That's very helpful. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to pass the Q&A over to Andrew to go through some questions, and then we can maybe get to some from the audience. So Andrew, floor is yours.
Yeah, I guess as I've kind of thought about like where Mama's is at, you touched on it earlier, Adam, which is what I consider kind of phase one, which was just this operational turnaround. You brought in people, got them focused on processes and systems. And last year with June, with Lauren coming on, and then kind of everybody else that has followed since, to what I consider kind of phase two, which is the sales execution and really broadening where Mama's is kind of going. And so I think Lauren is kind of the key to this phase two approach. And I think the thing that anybody that knows Adam is really wondering, Lauren, is in spite of Adam, why did you join Mama's?
So my career prior to joining Mama's had been in bigger organizations, but as I reflected on, the roles within those bigger organizations that gave me the most pride, excited me the most, they were smaller roles or on smaller brands or smaller channels. So examples were at General Mills, I worked in the convenience store channel, which at the time was a smaller channel, but it gave us a lot of room for entrepreneurship. I worked on Sour Patch Kids, again, smaller brand, but really entrepreneurial. And then I moved over to Tate's because I had at that time reflected on those experiences. And as I was helping out with the acquisition with Adam of Tate's for Mondelez, realized that, I thought that being in an environment that was more entrepreneurial, being in a role that was closer to the business would be one that I would enjoy more. And that proved to be the case at Tate's. And, in marketing, you do like to move around a lot and have some, have changes. And so as I was looking for a new role, saw Adam at a trade show, actually. And he had been at Mama's for a little bit, and just thought it was a great opportunity to get those things that I personally thrive on in a professional setting. So entrepreneurial, being close to the business, being able to also learn, which is something that I didn't even I didn't expect the level of learning that I've had in the last year, through the opportunity of being able to touch so many different aspects of the business. We're a small team. We do a lot. And so I have just done so much in the last month, 13 months, that I didn't even expect that going into it. So it's just been professionally so rewarding for me for the last year, more than I even anticipated coming into it.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit more? You said kind of, I guess with the dual objective of kind of marketing and trade is to drive awareness and I guess trialing. So it sounds like all that ends up being very end customer specific. So how much variation do you get across channels? Yeah, let's just start there.
Variation in terms of messaging or variation in terms of tactics?
Yeah, more on messaging.
Well, I think, and this is something I'm actually embarking on right now, as I mentioned earlier, with a digital agency that I just am bringing on board. It's going to be, that's something that, especially in the digital world, the variety of messaging as you're trying to target either different products or different end consumers is vast, and the ability to A/B test and really see what works with consumers is pretty fun. I'm talking to them now about specific programs, and even within a specific campaign, we're going to be able to do a variety of messaging and see what works across different channels and consumers and segmenting consumers. So we are going to be seeing we do have a variety of messaging. It always ladders up to our brand purpose and our values as an organization, but there is a great variety that's out there as you're communicating to consumers. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. How will kind of trade and marketing evolve as you increase your awareness?
Well, one thing is we'll be investing more in both trade and marketing. So that will allow us to expand the tactics that we're using, the breadth and the depth of them. The other thing that will evolve is measurement over time. And so those are things that as we continue to invest more, we'll be able to measure more and see the return on the investment across those and be able to better optimize. So those are really the things that I think that will expand over time.
Right,
and then
yeah,
sorry, just one other thing that just popped into my head. The other thing is, as we continue to launch new products, the messaging across those and the support across those will also continue to expand as well. So as we launch new products, we'll have specific messaging and specific campaigns for those products as well.
And then Adam, can you just talk a little bit more on the C-store? Just kind of the opportunity, but more specifically, what are the different channels you use to access that market?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we did, and again, I apologize in advance for boring you guys for the next 10 years, but it always starts with the foundation. We didn't have the foundation of the C-store before. So, and three specific things. One, we didn't have the products, right? So now we have these different types of offerings, right? We have the cups offering, and Lauren lets me, we'll have a pouch offering. We have these brand new meals for one offerings, right? Our teriyaki chicken, things that we didn't have these types of on-the-go solutions before. So I can't go to a C-store if I don't have the products. Bringing the customer, a C-store customer, a 3-pound thing of Costco meatballs does nothing for them. So that's number one. The second thing is we didn't have to go to market. So you understand there's 150, 200,000 C-stores in America, all through distributors. So think Dot, think Core-Mark, think Cisco, think McLean, think Hackney, those types of players. We did not have the relationship before. We now have connections and relationships with every single distributor in America. So we have it all, such that when Joe's Bagel Shop wants our product, all they have to do is go to their Cisco website or go to their Dot website, and it's already ordered, full stop. So that's number two. And the third is the team. Actually, we'll have some news for you coming up in our next earnings call, but we're going to build the capabilities around it. You know, how could I talk about marketing before I even had Lauren? We literally didn't have any marketers. How could I talk to you about trade before we hired Nick? We didn't have it. So in addition to what you guys see every day on building the operations, I was equally building the human capabilities within the organization that we didn't have. So those three things put us in a place that I feel very good and excited to share with you in September during our earnings on what we're doing in convenience.
Can you size the opportunity?
No, I'd lie to you if I could. You know, again, it's a big, we know it's a big number of consumers. Until I feel comfortable with how receptive the consumers are to our items, I wouldn't want to make up a number. But again, let's put in perspective. There's 25,000 sort of DSD stores in America. Think grocery and mass, 25,000. There's 250,000 C stores. How big do you think the opportunity is?
Then if you break the 250 down, there's something like 50,000 that are like C-store chains, and then there's 100,000 or more that are, you know, kind of independents. So how do you access the, if we roughly just break the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like 7-Eleven. I'm just, it just so happened. So everything in my life, well, first of all, everything's purple. And this is clearly, I didn't pull for something. This is on my desk at all times. It says every single retailer in America and the number of stores. You know, 7-Eleven has 13,000 locations. That's one chain. AM/PM, over 1,000 locations. So obviously we're starting with the chains. We actually don't know, and it's kind of funny. We learn now that we're in Dot, we're in all these players. Lauren and I get an email every Sunday. We get new customers, we don't even know it. Now, again, it's a guy that has 10 grocery shops, but we don't actually need to sell to them anymore because they know they're a Cisco customer, they're a Dot customer. They just go in and type meatballs and we pop up. So it's cool. You want to know how many new customers? I can't even tell you any longer how many new customers we have because we get new customers, we don't even realize it. So that's the cool part about the convenience channel.
So it sounds like how you access the independents is through distributors. The chains, are those all you're going direct?
No. Even 7-Eleven will go through, I think McLean's their distributor.
McLean.
So
Okay.
So everything. We won't go to direct to, no one in America goes direct. Again, Lauren told you she ran Sour Patch Kids. All of our convenience channel of Nabisco, the biggest player in America, we went through McLean. I remember, unfortunately, those were the most painful monthly end meetings. Even Nabisco goes through the distributors. I don't know anyone that goes direct.
Okay. And then, so it sounds like you've got some additional personnel hires. I was kind of wondering if, when we think about the kind of the C-suite, is there any more high-level positions, you know, like Lauren's that you still need to kind of fill out?
Well, first of all, there's no one like Lauren. Let's make that absolutely clear and write that down, Adam and Sean. But yeah, I think and we're in talks, there's probably 1 or 2 more people to fill out the full C-suite, and hopefully we'll be able to share that soon. But we're definitely past the 80% mark on what we need to bring. But yes, there's probably 1 or 2 targeted folks that we still need to fill.
Would a COO, would that make logical sense for you to bring somebody in that capacity?
It could. Yep. Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
And then maybe just one last one, if we still got a couple minutes here. When you think about on the M&A front, obviously doing M&A in a small organization, very different than where you came from. Would you source most of that due diligence process internally or some combination of internal, external? How do you approach it differently than what you did at Mondelez?
Yeah, so we'll see. Depends on the size of the business. So we acquired Chef Inspirational last year, and I was able to do that diligence myself. So if you remember, and I've been very transparent, the role I had at Mondelez was it was my job to tell the board what category to go into. It was my job to tell the board who the biggest players are, the best players. It was actually my job to also tell them how big that target is going to be. And then I had a wonderful corporate development team that said, okay, Adam, if they're going to go to $1 billion, pay them $50. And I'd go and pay them $50 and we'd do ourselves a deal. Depending on the size of the acquisitions, the diligence was my thing. That was what I was responsible for. So I feel comfortable with that, but as needed, bring in Anthony Gruber did actually a lot of acquisitions as well in his time at Richemont and DeLonghi and others. So I feel good with the team we have. And the other thing that's interesting, remember, maybe I'll buy Apple, 2 times from now, but we're not buying Apple. We're buying mom and pop deli companies. What's wonderful is Anthony Morello, who was the founder of Creative Salads. He knows his stuff real low. Ron Loeb, who is the CEO of Chef Inspirational Foods, I think he's been in the business longer than Lauren and I have been alive. So they know this business really, really well. They're all private businesses. They're all small mom and pop businesses. These companies do not have hedges, advanced derivatives. I've seen a lot of stuff in my time. I don't have to worry about that in the companies that we're buying here.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew, very much. And thanks for all those tremendous answers. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. I want to see if we can take some from the audience. The first question is, we did talk a bit about financials, and I'm interested to hear your take on just the ceiling for gross margins over time as you scale, and also maybe kind of pricing dynamics within your end customers, given where inflation is, and just again, over time as you scale.
Yeah, so a couple of things you hit there. So one, actually, I'm really proud of our sales team. We've done a tremendous amount of pricing. Still, and again, if you remember last quarter, still, I think upwards of 60 to 70% of our growth was unit growth. So as much as I tell you I'm proud of our pricing and how we got all of our pricing in that we wanted, I would argue we're still under where we could be. And certainly most of our growth, a super majority of our growth, is actually unit growth versus pricing growth. But I am very proud of the team. We have great relationships with our buyers, and the pricing is really getting in there. So that's one. And then the second one of where could we go? I've been really clear. So again, Q1 and Q2, I told you it's going to be more challenged. We'll be back there in Q3 and 4 at that 30%-ish number. And I think we could easily, and I'm making up this number, we could easily get 10 more points once all the automation is in, but you're not going to see it. I promise not to show it to you guys because I'm going to put it all back into trade. So I think 30% in the long run, maybe a little bit more, but 30% in the long run is roughly where I want to be. And every incremental dollar above that 30% is just going to go back into trade. Once we get to a 10% trade rate, I guess I will unfortunately have to show you guys the gross margins, and maybe it will be higher, but I want to invest equally. I know it's not between gross to net, but Lauren needs more. So we're probably at 1-2% on marketing right now. I want it to be at least 5%. That's another place for where it's going to be. So the thing is, and you actually noticed it in Q1, if we have the money, you see us investing. Equally, all these levers are elective. So if I know we're not doing as well because commodities are high, if I know we're not doing as well because we're in the middle of construction and literally blowing up our building and starting again, I will throttle back the marketing. I will throttle back the trade because I know I'm just going to be able to put it back in, next quarter.
Excellent. That's very helpful. That's a good segue into, we can wrap it up with this question that comes from one of our attendees about your expense growth and kind of leveraging expenses over time. Obviously, you're in a period of investment in the sales force, the executive team, some of the other initiatives you're doing. Do you anticipate this being a multi-year investment cycle? Will leverage happen a little bit faster? What is your take on that?
I think I've brought us down, but now we've been roughly around 20% SG&A as a percentage of revenue. I think that feels fine. I think that's what I'm sort of striving towards, holding relatively close together. I think I've been there in the 7 quarters or so that I've been doing this. But I want to invest. Again, that's how you get Lauren and her talent. That's how you get marketing dollars. That's how you get trade dollars. That's how you get the equipment that we're bringing in here. So I'd say for the next couple of years, I'd still aspire to stay close to that 20% number. Again, if I do too well on the top line and it creeps down to 19 or 18%, I'll apologize to Andrew in advance, but that's roughly where I'd like to see it.
Excellent. Well, yeah, that seems like a great place to end it, the session for today. I really appreciate the time, Andrew, Adam, Lauren. This has been an excellent conversation. And hopefully our attendees learned a lot about your business and the strategy moving forward. So big thank you very much again for attending and for doing this. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Andrew,
Thanks,
Sean, Andrew.
Thank you.
Please, any questions, please reach out to Luke Zimmerman. Please make sure you share with your team. Happy to speak to anyone. Would love for you guys. I'm in East Rutherford today, depending on the day. I'm in one of our 2 facilities. Would love to introduce you guys to the floor. As my wife tells me, not what I say, it's what you see. And you really fall in love when you walk the line. So you're always welcome anytime.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We will have this session has been recorded, so we'll have the recording up both on YouTube and MicroCapClub, and we'll include contact information in the notes. So again, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank
Thanks, team.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks.